What if I told you there's a place that once called itself the land of the morning calm? Yet its history is anything but calm. A land wrapped in misty mountains, guarded by seas, and for centuries, shielded from the world. A kingdom so mysterious that outsiders nicknamed it the Hermit Kingdom. But here's the twist. Behind that quiet image lies a story of relentless invasions, cultural battles, and a division so deep that it still shapes the lives of millions today. Stick with me, because the further we go, the more unbelievable this story becomes. Let's rewind to when this land was known as Chosun. The name itself means land of the morning calm, a poetic phrase that paints a picture of a serene sunrise over misty valleys where life seemed untouched by chaos. But that calm? It didn't last. From the very beginning, Korea's geography was both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, the mountains and seas gave it natural protection. On the other, its location made it a bridge between giants, China, Japan, and later Russia. And when you live between giants, sooner or later someone is going to step on you. Quick question for you. If you lived in a land constantly caught between powerful neighbors, would you fight to stay open to the world? Or close your doors to protect yourself? Drop your answer below. Your choice says a lot about how you see survival. But Korea's story isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. And it begins with 3 powerful dynasties. Korea's history can be split into 3 powerful dynasties that shaped not just its borders, but its very soul: Silla, Koryo, and Yi. Each of these eras was a chapter in an epic saga of resilience and reinvention. First came the Silla dynasty, 668–935, the one that finally unified much of the Korean peninsula. It was an age of flourishing culture and Buddhist art, but also of fierce battles with rival kingdoms. Imagine a time when the country was a patchwork of competing clans, all scrambling for power and survival. Next rose the Koryo dynasty, 935–1392, the name that gave us Korea. This dynasty was a golden age of art, philosophy, and innovation. The Koryo rulers built magnificent temples and invented the world's first metal movable type printing. But despite their brilliance, they couldn't escape the looming shadows of foreign threats. In fact, the Koryo dynasty faced relentless invasions, especially from the Mongols. The Mongolian overlords forced Korea into a tight leash, turning it into a tributary state for decades. It was a dark time of subjugation, but also of survival and adaptation. Then came the Yi dynasty, 1392–1910, which would last over 500 years, longer than any other Korean dynasty. The Yi rulers doubled down on isolationism, pushing Korea into the fortress-like Hermit Kingdom status. They built massive palaces and codified strict social order, trying to shield their culture from foreign influence. But here's the catch. That closed-door policy was a double-edged sword. While it kept some invaders at bay, it also stifled innovation and left Korea vulnerable to a rapidly changing world. If you're surprised by how these dynasties struggled to keep their independence while shaping such a rich culture, hit that like button. It tells me you're enjoying this deep dive. And what happened when the doors finally opened? The answer would change everything for Korea forever. By the time the Yi dynasty was in full swing, Korea had earned a new nickname: the Hermit Kingdom. It wasn't just a poetic phrase. It was a literal description of a country that slammed its doors shut on the outside world. The Mongols, the Chinese, and later the Japanese, all of these foreign overlords enforced strict policies to keep Korea isolated. This isolation was meant to cement control, but it also shaped Korea's identity in ways few outsiders could understand. Imagine living in a place where foreign traders were banned, where outside ideas were seen as dangerous whispers, and where the world beyond your mountains was a mystery. For centuries, Korea maintained this fortress mentality, balancing on a knife's edge between preservation and stagnation. But that calm surface was deceptive. Beneath it, a tension was growing, one that would explode with devastating consequences. Here's a lesser-known fact. During this isolation, Korean scholars secretly studied foreign texts and even smuggled in ideas to keep their culture alive. Despite the closed doors, knowledge found cracks to seep through, so while the Hermit Kingdom seemed closed off, it was quietly adapting in hidden ways. That wasn't the whole story, though. Because history was about to take a brutal turn. Everything changed in 1910. Korea's centuries of cautious isolation ended abruptly when Japan forcefully annexed the peninsula. This wasn't just political takeover, it was an aggressive campaign to erase Korea's identity. Japanese rule outlawed Korean language, culture, and traditions. Schools taught Japanese history and language, and many Koreans grew up more familiar with Japanese customs than their own. Imagine a whole generation struggling to hold on to their heritage as it was systematically stripped away. But resistance simmered beneath the surface. Underground movements risked everything to keep Korean culture alive, from secret schools to forbidden literature. Yet, for many, the scars ran deep. This cultural suppression wasn't just about control, it was a battle for the very soul of Korea. Here's a shocking detail. Some Koreans were forced to take Japanese names and even worship at Japanese shrines against their will, a cruel way to erase their identity. If this part of history hits you, drop a comment with to show respect for those who fought to preserve their roots. But the end of World War II would bring new hope and new challenges. Because Korea's fate wasn't just decided by itself anymore, World War II's end didn't mean freedom for Korea, it meant division. At the Yalta Conference, the US and Soviet Union carved up the peninsula along the 38th parallel, setting the stage for decades of conflict. Japanese forces surrendered to the Americans in the south and to the Soviets in the north. But what happened next was anything but peaceful. Attempts to hold democratic elections for a unified Korea failed. The Soviets blocked efforts in the north, and soon two governments emerged, the Republic of Korea in the south, a pro-Western democracy, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the north, a Soviet-backed communist state. Picture families and friends suddenly separated by an invisible but deadly border, a peninsula split by ideology, with two very different visions for the future. Here's a powerful thought. This division wasn't just political, it was deeply personal for millions who found themselves on opposite sides overnight. If you can imagine how hard that must have been, leave a broken heart in the comments to honor those lives torn apart. But the worst was yet to come. The deadliest chapter in Korea's modern history was about to unfold. In June 1950, everything exploded. North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel, launching a full-scale invasion of the South. What followed was a brutal 3-year war that left millions dead, cities destroyed, and families shattered. The United Nations quickly stepped in, rallying 16 countries to support South Korea, led by the United States. But the war wasn't just fought on battlefields, it was a clash of ideologies and a proxy war in the Cold War chess game. After fierce fighting and massive casualties, the conflict ended in a stalemate in 1953. An armistice was signed, but no peace treaty, meaning, technically, the two Koreas are still at war to this day. Imagine a border frozen in time, guarded by soldiers on both sides, with a demilitarized zone that's one of the tensest places on Earth. A war paused, but never truly over. What do you think it feels like to live with that constant tension? Drop your thoughts below. Your perspective matters. This frozen conflict shaped the Korea we know today, a story of division, survival, and an unbroken spirit. From the peaceful land of the morning calm to a divided peninsula frozen in time, Korea's story is one of resilience against overwhelming odds. 3 powerful dynasties, centuries of isolation, harsh occupation, global superpower struggles, and a war that never officially ended. Each chapter left deep marks on the people and culture. Yet through all this, Korea has never lost its spirit. Today, it's a nation that's rebuilt, innovated, and captured the world's attention with its culture, technology, and determination. But the shadows of the past still linger. Families remain divided, and the peninsula waits for a future where peace might finally replace the silence of the armistice. What part of Korea's journey surprised you most? Was it the quiet strength during isolation, the painful years under occupation, or the frozen war that still divides? Share your thoughts below. Let's keep this story alive together. And if you learned something new today, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most compelling stories.